What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. The Final Four is set, and it is 4 number 1 seeds. And I was thinking today, when I was just sitting in the sauna, getting a good soak, getting all the toxins out of my body, that, if you think about the college football Final Four, was Texas versus Ohio State and Penn State against Notre Dame. And listen, I got my start in this business, not technically this business, but in the sports world at Fresno State, a small school, a little underdog. We will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. And a school that first had aspirations of making it to a BCS game. And ultimately, Boise State was able to do it. And people have followed since. Other small school programs have, I would say, made huge impacts over the last 15, 10 years. Basketball, obviously, we have had a ton of Cinderellas make runs into the Elite Eight. And I would say over the course of my adult life, the last 20 years, a ton making it to the Final Four. I mean, San Diego State made a run. VCU. I mean, it's Butler with Brad Stevens. Those days are over. And like people are going to complain about it. And we talked about it, I think, earlier last week about the transfer portal. I think Ice Cube had a line called Big Bank, Take Little Bank. There's always been a huge advantage for Duke basketball, Kentucky basketball, Alabama football, Michigan, Ohio State football. Like they've always had the advantage over VCU or Butler or Boise State at football or San Diego State or Fresno State. The only thing that's changed is now they don't even need to hide the ability to brown bag the players because they give them a 1099, which has several zeros on it, and they can take your player whenever they want. So listen, I'm not against the little guy. I went to small schools. Like I went to Cal Poly. I didn't go to USC or Oregon. But when I sit on my couch, even when I was at Cal Poly, we watched Texas against USC. Like I've always said, I watch pro sports to watch Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, Steph Curry. Like I'm not watching it to watch the overachieving random guy. Fun story every once in a while, but we turn it on for Patrick Mahomes and the Watt brothers and the Manning brothers. Like that's why we tune in. And let's face it, college basketball and college football has kind of always been like that as well. The reason the SEC is so dominant now was because of 15 years of Nick Saban. A rising tide lifts all boats created such a demand for the other programs to keep up economically. The interest in the sport got so big, and the money they get from television is bigger than all the other conferences. So they have more money to pay the other coaches. And once you start paying the other coaches, the expectations is to win. And now with NIL, it has expanded. And I think that we just need to get used to, obviously, in the NCAA tournament, there are going to be some random upsets. It's a 1 game scenario. So it's not like for the next 10 years, get ready for like 90% of the time, it's going to be 4 number 1 seeds. Or it's just going to be Texas, Ohio State, and Notre Dame every single year. That's not going to be the case, but it's going to happen way more often than not. So if you're a fan of the little guy, if you went to one of those smaller schools, I hate to break it to you, you're fucked. It's even the slim hope you ever had. And I remember when I was at Fresno State, we were in the WAC, and we're like, God, if Boise could just get their shot, give Boise their shot. And then they would get in some of the BCS games, and they would like put them against TCU, who at the time was also not in the Big 12, right? It's not like they were some power program. It's like, why don't these schools ever get the shot? Because they don't want them to get the shot. They want a monopoly on the money, and now they got a monopoly on the players because the Ashton Genty situation where he could have transferred. We don't know the exact schools. I bet people in the NFL have been told when they've interviewed him, the schools that were offering you 7 figures, and he just took $300,000 to stay at Boise. Like that's going to be an outlier example. Steph Curry's breakout to the country happened when he was a sophomore in college. He came back and played another year at Davidson. That player, obviously, he was unique. His dad was an NBA player, but I'm just saying the next Steph Curry, the next Ja Morant, the next smaller school guy is going to transfer. And that school is just kind of screwed, and they just become like a minor league feeder system. I saw it when I lived in the Bay Area with the Oakland A's, who are now the Sacramento A's, who actually I think might be pretty good. They didn't spend any money, but they could pick out talent better than any team probably in the league. And Billy Bean has had like maybe not six, but like 4 or 5 iterations of playoff teams with different core groups of players over like 20 years. Because every 3 or 4 years, he has to sell because those guys are getting close to getting paid and he has to restart the cycle. But like they just acted as the feeder system for the Yankees, for the Red Sox, for the Cardinals, for the A's, and for the Giants. It doesn't mean all those players always worked out when they left, but for the most part, like those teams circled the drain when they realized like it's over for this group of guys, and then they would have to sell. And that's kind of what the smaller basketball programs are. That's definitely what the smaller football programs are. But it's not even just the San Diego States and Boise States or VCUs and Butlers. It's like the second and third tier programs in their own conference. Like if you're Alabama or LSU or Georgia and you play Mississippi State and you go, God, they got Darius Slay or Fletcher Cox. And it's pretty clear, like their second year, like this guy's it's going to be like a top 50 draft pick. This guy could be a first rounder. The latest day two, you're recruiting him. And right now there aren't really rules. And even when those rules get instituted, like who's actually instituting the rules? The NCAA, does anyone respect them anymore? Is anyone listening to them? And I just think this situation really, really benefits the big dogs. And obviously, if you have a high level coach, it means you're paying him a lot of money, and a big collective, you're going to have massive advantages. You've had them, and it's only going to grow and grow moving forward. And even when they set a salary cap based on the television revenue, this is not the pros, where it's like Andy Reid and Clark Hunt don't need to worry about like who Patrick Mahomes is in business with off the field, right? He's just his agent, his marketing team will Allstate, Oakley, like they'll just handle all that. In college, like the huge advantage is going to be for Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, like we'll give you, whatever your salary cap number is. I'm just going to pick a random like we really want you to play for Texas. Here's $450,000 and we also can get double that number by getting you these 3 deals. And they're going to try to like I think separate church and state, where it's like the programs no longer have to do with NIL bullshit. That's going to be a huge advantage for the big boys. So, listen, it is what it is, and money always creeps in. We live in America, and they've people have been clamoring for this. The media's led this charge for a long time, and wherever it started to go, where listen, these guys deserve to be paid. It was always going to benefit the big dogs and the big conferences and the big schools, and it's pretty evident that like that's going to be the case. I think it was 4 1s, 3 2s, and a three in the Elite Eight. I mean, look at who was in the college football playoffs. It's going to be the same group of we take 12 teams. They basically automatically take a Boise State program so they don't get sued. So there's basically 11 other slots. I would say it's going to be the same 18 to 20 teams for those 11 spots for the next 5 or 6 years. Occasionally we'll have a random Indiana, but Indiana didn't come from like some rant. It came from, I think most people agree, the second best football conference. And you could argue this year was the best football conference. But yeah, I feel for the little guy because they're donezo.